Yo, guys, I hope you're well. The guys, I just want to talk about the job market in 2025. And the reason I want to do that is because we keep hearing all of this great news from Keir Starmer, Rachel Reeves about the deals they've done, that they're growing the economy, this, that, and the third. But when you do a deep dive, it's not as it seems because there are no jobs. So, guys, I think I did something last week around what's going on about work and people trying to find work. And I think I pulled up some stats about it takes almost a year for someone to find a new job because there just aren't any jobs. And I was just assuming that it was at the mid and the higher level. But I actually bumped into someone late last week, and this person is a recruiter, and they're actually big in recruitment because they deal with all the contracts for the government recruitment. And this person told me some facts, and they were quite sobering facts around jobs, the workforce 2025, and what's going on. Because I asked this person, I said, look, I was just trolling around, trolling, or whatever it is, scrolling around online. And I was finding out that the job market is really, really challenged this year. And he agreed with me. And he told me it's actually worse than you think. Because apparently in 2024, the job market decreased by 24% from their outlook and their analysis and their trends. But in the first week of 2025, the job market went down another 10%, and it hasn't got any better since. So for jobs, and this person told me it's not just jobs at the managerial level, higher level. No, it is at all levels. He was saying to me that the contracts they used to go out, say, for instance, in the hotels. So, for instance, in that region, in that part of the industry, no, all gone. There's nothing out there, guys. So, when you hear people like Keir Starmer saying he secured jobs, yes, he may have secured jobs, but where is the job creation? Where is the job development? Where is the movement in work, in employment? It's just not there. And I'm just looking here. So, for instance, I wrote down a couple of notes. So, yeah, the guy I was speaking to was saying that the usual outlets for employing are no longer seeking staff across the board. So that is a very worrying thing because how we're meant to grow the economy is to have job creation as well as job wealth. But if there is no creation, how can there be wealth? I don't know. And I'm just reading here because something struck me last night, when I was just going on the internet. Yeah, and I've written a note here: jobs are disappearing under Reeves. So there's an article here, and it says the loss of more than 150,000 payroll jobs since Labour took over is a stark warning of how Labour's policies have threatened employment. The number of Britons on payrolls has sunk from 30.45 million in July of last year, that's when Labour won the election, to 30.3 million in April this year. So apparently 46% of small business employees now say Labour costs are amongst their biggest barriers to growth. So it's the costs of getting people into work, to employ people, getting people to sit at their desk is one of the biggest barriers to growth. This person said, oh, and sorry, I didn't say the name, it's Tina McKenzie, that just 8% of small businesses were able to increase their staff numbers in the first quarter of this year. So 8%. And that tallies with this person in recruitment I spoke to, because they said in the first 10 days of 2025, the sector shrank again by a further 10% because it was 24% shrunk in 2024, and it's now shrunk to 35 and potentially even more in 2025. So that corroborates that evidence. I was speaking to that recruiter who has the government contract. Wow. And then Tina McKenzie added, it's of course alarming to see the sustained fall in the number of employees on payroll. The rise in employer national insurance contributions, the NICs we've all been hearing about, will ultimately leave many paying more tax on employing people. So it's costing work and businesses a lot more to get people in the door to do a job. So that's a quandary for them. Do they shell out more money to get someone in who potentially may not work out, or potentially now with Labour's new employers' laws and employees' rights? So I think from day one, the employees' rights have changed. So, for instance, if they get dismissed on day one, they're entitled to this, that, and the third. I don't know. So there's a lot more that comes in the package that the employer has to think about. And then Tina McKenzie added that there is a warning of havoc ahead. And this is all to do with the planned, which I was just talking about, the planned overhaul of workers' rights could also stop businesses taking people on. So I was saying from day one, workers' rights will increase, and that then would adversely affect employers who will have to do a lot more, and it will cost them a lot more from day one. So Tina McKenzie added, the government also needs to think again and rework the parts of the Employment Rights Bill that will wreak havoc on hiring. We know that 75% of small employers are worried about how the bill will expand the grounds for, as I was talking about before, unfair dismissal. So I was saying on day one, and 74% fear changes to statutory sick pay. Larger employers are also worried. So Matthew Percival of the CBI said, our surveys show that businesses' hiring intentions have been negative for several months. And that corroborates what I was talking to the recruiter about across the board. So it's not just at the high level, which I was assuming, it's all across the board, even to the low paid, unskilled jobs, jobs in retail, the jobs with customer focus and everything else, everywhere. So there are cost pressures, heightened uncertainty, and subdued trading conditions cited as the key factors. So guys, we need to just be aware, and there's more here as well. So the increase in national insurance contributions is a big factor, along with the national living wage and the anticipated cost of the Employment Rights Bill. So that's a triumvirate, isn't it? It's the three that are all together in one package that are beginning to affect employers' outlook to say, well, do we go out into the market and start recruiting and getting more people in, or do we just hang tight? So it's a case of, do we stick or do we twist? So if people play card games, you know about that quandary, the dilemma. Do you hold on to what you've got, or do you speculate and go for more and then potentially think, made a mistake? So it's that stick or twist. So it ends here with the Shadow Chancellor, Mel Stride, saying the loss of 150,000 payroll jobs since Labour came into power is not just a statistic. I can't say the word. It's not just a statistic. It's a stark warning, and it reflects the real consequences of Labour's reckless economic mismanagement. Instead of supporting growth and job creation, which I've been talking about, they've chosen to hit businesses and workers with punishing tax hikes, including their damaging jobs tax. And I always say that there's cause and effect. So potentially what Labour were thinking with their new fandangled, whatever it is, that they were potentially going to help the workers. But by trying to help the workers, you've now impinged on the employers. So it's cause and effect. And what you've created now is a crack, a crevice, where potential employees are falling into that crevice and they're no longer ripe to be picked for new jobs and new roles. So the new jobs and new roles are being put on hold and they're disappearing because of you, Labour, trying to be really good and tap on the back of the potential employees by giving them a lot more rights. You're now taking away a lot of the scope for the employers to invest in the future of the companies and to invest in more employees and in more people to grow their business. So on the one hand you give, but on the other hand you're taking away. So the math does not add up. So at a time when we should be encouraging employers, sorry, to invest, to hire and grow, Labour has made it more expensive to create jobs and harder for people to find work. That is so true. So from all the conversations I've had, remember I showed you that breakdown on the internet a couple of days ago where it's at least 54% of people saying it took at least 6 months to look for and get a new role. And I was talking about ghosting, I was talking about the hiring, how recruiting has changed, how and 500 to 1,000 people are going for each job that's advertised. So the whole machinations and the whole business of recruitment and hiring has almost hit the buffers. There's nothing out there, people. Jobs, there are no jobs. So we need to think really hard about how we change that and how we kickstart the growth in the industries again, because there just are no jobs. And it finishes here with these decisions are not just economically short sighted, they are fundamentally irresponsible. So, guys, my suggestion to you is if you are in a job, hold on to it for dear life. If you're looking for work, be prepared for a long, hard struggle because Keir Starmer, Rachel Reeves may say that the growth is back in the UK because of the deals we've done with America, with India, and everything else that we're looking at. But if you speak to the person in the street, they will corroborate what I've said, that the job market has contracted, and it's contracted so much that, in effect, there are no jobs. So, guys, make sure you look after yourselves, you look after each other, and I will see you at the next one.